Did a video recently about how when somebody uses a label or a name to describe something in the conversation you're in, it's worth trying to figure out what they mean. And this is especially true with negative labels or negative names. If you're in a meeting and somebody says, "Oh, I can't believe the guy did that, that's so irresponsible," we should figure out what irresponsibility means in this case. What is that person talking about? Because one of the things you're going to find is that this is yet another example of the split between behavior and feelings. People who are using a label or a name to describe an objective behavior in the world, we can work with that as other people. A third party can adjudicate that issue. We can figure out what the problem is, what the standard was, etc. If we're just talking about feelings, there's not a lot we can do with that. Doesn't mean that feelings aren't important, doesn't mean that feelings don't matter, or that you shouldn't have feelings. We're human beings, we all do. I cannot take my internal emotional world and hold other people accountable for it. I have got to figure out what the external behavior issue is and hold people accountable to that. When you hear somebody use a label or a name in a conversation, especially if it's negative, especially if it's aimed at a person, try to figure out what it is they mean by asking them gently to explain. What you will find is one of two things. They're either describing a behavior that you can manage and deal with, or they're just describing their personal feelings. I'm not sure what we can do about that. I can't believe it. It's so irresponsible. What do you mean by irresponsible? He knew what the due date was. He knew we had to deliver for the client. He missed the deadline. That's probably irresponsible. We should do something about that. That's so irresponsible. What do you mean by irresponsible? This thing is just, it's a terrible situation. What did you mean by irresponsible? How was he irresponsible? It's just, things are bad right now. That's what I mean. It's an example of trying to get to the bottom of whether or not we are describing behavior or if people are just using negative labels and names to try to assuage their internal emotional feelings. One of those things we can deal with in interpersonal conversation and in the real world. The other, that's a personal issue people have got to learn to settle.